All
It
right,
picked up on my
welcome
side.
back to it. God damn it. Welcome back to an all new episode of Are We Really Fucking Doing This? Welcome back to an all new episode of the Saturday Detention podcast live from Hadamari Apartments Room 201. I am your host, the host. Joining me this week, we have Shay. I'm just going to introduce Shay because he's been here before. Y'all know Shay.
Hey, how's it going? Can't believe you just put your government out there, but all right. How you
Hey,
doing?
we're talking about art stuff.
Word.
This is basically a glorified interview. Shay's gonna teach me about art.
Glorified or deglorified?
Yes.
Word. Yeah, I'm just here to answer some questions and talk about what I do as a hobbyist artist and where my perspective lies and what I'm doing and anything else that might come to mind.
All right. So explain your process, please, good sir. That's too many fucking P's.
My process. Okay. Well, usually what I do is, and this is even like, because I do digital and physical, so I'll catch a lot of flack for this from people who see and look through my notebooks. But what I do is I'll start off sketching something. Usually there's not a lot of thought put into it unless I know for a fact that there's something that I want to work on. That process starts out slightly different, but most of the time I just start with a head and I'll start just whatever I'm feeling, whatever dynamic energy I'm trying to manifest in whatever line that I've put out. It starts there, and then if I'm feeling it, then I'll continue working on this piece and then decide later on what it is that I want to capture. If I'm not, I go back to zero. I go back to zero and try with a whole nother like head position and like dynamicism, whatever. And like if you look at my notebooks, there's a whole bunch of like mostly empty pages except for like starts like of a drawing that I either gave up on or just didn't have time to finish.
Why'd you give up?
Again, if I'm not feeling the direction of it, I'll just go back to zero. But that said, once I've got a nice sketch of what I want to do, what I'll usually try to do is, if it's decent enough to where I can just fill in the forms, make the shapes more defined, then I'll just go off of that and then head into line work. Whereas if I'm going to if I have in mind like a specific pose that I want to capture or a mood that I'm trying to go with, I'll reference other pieces and then try to get because I feel my anatomy is mostly okay. Uh, the process itself isn't necessarily like outstanding or perfect, but it's just like it. If something looks off, or if there's some specific way I want something to be viewed, I will go out of my way to reference them. Usually through something on Pinterest. I have a few boards there, and
Okay. Okay.
yeah.
Not a fan of Pinterest, but that's neither here nor there.
I mean I understand why. It's mostly useful for the amount of mood board material and like image references you'll find on there.
That's fair.
Yeah. If you have anything better to recommend to me, I'll definitely look at it.
I dead ass was just gonna be like, yeah, just use Twitter, make a list, and I'm like, that's gonna bother a bunch of people. Don't do that. Don't
See,
do that. Leave those nice people alone.
I was gonna say, yeah, that's the only thing about lists. If you could have lists but not have them be as obnoxious, then yeah, I would probably be more inclined to use those. But yeah, once I've gotten, again, if I'm trying to reference something, that reference stage will start earlier in the sketch. But before I move on to the line art of whatever I'm working on, I usually will reference some piece, some picture, some photography, whatever I need to in order to get the right movement going and the right shapes. And once I have, it's funny because the line art is probably the quickest phase for me, or at least the one that comes with the least amount of thought. But I mean, that's fair because you're just tracing over what needs to be done. which is probably why I struggle with like pieces that don't necessarily like more of like painting style pieces where I don't have a line art or don't have a need for line art as strong as some other ones, more of the illustrative works that I do.
Mm-hmm.
For example, I have a piece of my original character Mila in a Tifa cosplay esque thing, and like the hair was like both the hardest and the neatest thing to do, but it's also because it's harder to make that work without lines in the way that I did it. And I'm sure that if it comes to, I just need to practice that more. I'll be honest, but yeah, mostly line art. Once I get done with the line art, then I do the base colors. And here's the thing about my process, because sometimes I'll just be like, I just want to go straight to the colors and I don't want to do the value yet. And I know a lot of people like to do the value before the flats.
Wait, what the fuck is a value?
The value is the like the way that they look in grayscale. So like the lighting and the way that it works and how dark certain shadows are. So
Huh.
the grayscale of a picture. So
I wasn't aware that had a term.
yeah, it's more of like the value of a color is what is specifically being referenced, but I use the term value just as a general the value of the overall piece in the
Got
range
you.
of lights and shadows. Yeah. But yeah, once I know that like usually what happens is as people if certain people do the values first, then they'll just lay the colors over it and then set the layer to like multiply, and then from there it'll be like it'll start falling into place a lot easier, and then from there they'll add like the little changes in dynamic color that help whatever the current situation is for their piece. Following
Hmm.
that, if for people who do the opposite where they do the color first, usually they'll do the value in a color that isn't grayscale, that isn't just a like a harsh gray. So what they'll do is they'll make the value in like depending on the lighting, like a warmer color or a darker color, or sorry, warmer or colder color, not darker, a warmer or cooler color, and from there it usually is working to complement the main colors that are already being used for the flats.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Um
That all sounds like a lot.
it it sounds like a lot, but in reality when you're going through, it's just the process in which it's easiest to get the coloring done. Um just cuz like if you look at cuz the last thing that you're going to be working on is say like the highlights of something. Uh Usually depending on what your piece is and again your process, but like you want to do like the flats, the shadows, and then the highlights, because the lightest parts of the picture are going to pop out more, and you will be able to decide later on little fixes here and there and if something needs to be darker, but you want that base, that understanding of where the light is coming from, and it's easier to tell that through the shadows, and then you can accommodate your light with that in mind.
Okay. So like, okay, so that's something else I have a question about. As someone who knows nothing about art, because that part of my brain doesn't work, how do you discern when something is too dark or too light?
Uh, it's mostly depending on how close the light source is to the object in question. So, is like the closer something is to a light source, the the stronger the shadow becomes. The dark, like the it's gonna cast a larger shadow just because there's more blockage in that general area. And if you go far enough, depending on how strong the light is, that blockage isn't going to matter as much, but it's still not going to be as bright as something being directly hit on it up close or from a distance. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, it's mostly just how bright is it and how close is the object to that bright object, that bright other light source. So
Because
if
I'll see like some pictures and I'm just like I can't tell where the light source is. So okay.
that's you stay hush about that, okay? A lot of people are trying their best. No,
Well,
I'm
no,
mostly
it's
being
not that.
funny.
It's just
You're
like
fine.
I was gonna say.
I got you. Um, in no, in actuality, it's very difficult to make a piece do what you want it to while also having it make a lot of sense in terms of where the light source is at. Um, Cause like, and some people don't necessarily think about it. Some people are like, I don't have a decent understanding of how light bounces off of things and where something might look like it makes sense. But if you have a decent sense of spatial awareness, that you'll start to realize, and even with experience, you'll start to realize that, oh, I see what you were going for here. You have a point that like the edges of the shirt on this example piece that I made up in my mind is is darker,
All right.
but it's more like no, because of the way that it's reflecting, it's still going to show a bit brightness on this side, or more brightness on the left side than the right side if the light source is on the upper left or something like that. Just I'm trying to build a visual picture in people's minds with my words, and I just think that
No, you're doing
okay.
it.
So like, yeah, it's very easy to fall into, and if your piece isn't supposed to be stylistic in nature, with the way that the light is being used, what's the word being used?
You asking the wrong.
Yeah, I
person.
know. There's a specific word that I want. But basically, if they don't care how exactly the light's hitting on them, just that like the light itself has more meaning than what the light source is supposed to like make sense of, then yeah, okay, I kind of see what you're going for. Um like and another thing is people who aren't very used to dynamic lighting will do is they will make the light source ambiguous.
Yeah.
So like I'm looking at my own piece, and I did something for a Fire Emblem character's birthday, Hilda. I made the light source ambiguous, so it kind of looks like it's coming from behind her, but like on the other hand, it part of it seems like it should be around the front as well, just from different angles. And it's like, yeah, it doesn't always make sense, and it like I like
Shouldn't sometimes.
but like in the impact of it is more the impact of the gleam and the shine is more important than, or I'm putting more emphasis on that and the significance of how it reacts with Hilda than it actually making sense.
Okay.
That said, I'm not 100% right for that, but that's
I mean,
yeah.
I'm gonna say I beg to differ.
Heard.
Argue words.
Mm-hmm. Heard.
All right. This is gonna be the hardest question of the day.
Okay.
How the fuck do colors work?
So are you asking me
You
to
have
like
20
I was gonna
minutes.
say, you want me to like define color theory?
I mean, you can give the definition and how it's supposed to work, but like,
So
I'm just like, I don't know how this shit works.
in actuality, it's just a practical guide to like color mixing and how different colors pop and work off of each other. Uh, if you want something better than that, I suggest you look up a YouTube video because I am not qualified to talk on that. But
Listen,
there's ways that colors, like outside of like the theory basics of like the color schemes, so like monochromatic, analogous, complementary, and things like that. There's just certain ways that colors have meaning, and like the nuances of that will change depending on like anything and everything. So like a background in terms of like uh cultural backgrounds versus someone's own in like into like intuition and their own experiences. But that, like, even if that is like besides all of that, they all have a very impactful innate meaning to us that is conveyed in general cultures all across the world. So like if you think of like red, you think of intensity and that passion and that strength, that danger, that love. Whereas if you look at something blue, you think of something uh trustworthy, something refreshing, something cool, something like calming down to a certain extent. uh
Yeah.
and all of them like main colors have some sort of argument to be had about one thing or another, but at its base, those different associations with these different colors are going to be something that stick with you and stick with everyone, whether they are conscious of it or not. uh when it comes
I hate that, but like I understand it.
Yeah, I mean, it like it's not necessarily something we can help, but it definitely has on in history helped us like understand a lot more of what, and like some of it is a lot more of how we've made it this far basically. And again, some
Yeah.
of it is very much so like man-made. So like the color purple meaning something like royal or magical is just a result of the fact that the color purple was hard to produce. So if you had it back in the day meaning way back, if you had clothing,
Not
right,
not pre-COVID.
right, not like pre-COVID,
Shit, getting old.
um if you had like the color purple in any of your fabrics or your clothing, that just showed how wealthy you were. And like
Yeah.
it's it doesn't it like it down to the fact that like where we come from overall has an impact on how we will continue to perceive things. Color theory is still something that like, even if we've broken it down to a science, can change depending on how certain cultures begin to look at other aspects of it. Um, if you want, here's the thing, right? I don't have like, in anticipation of this, I didn't have too many people that I wanted to reference specifically. Um,
Oh, I do.
right. If you want some people that specifically uh inspire me in terms of like color work, you can probably find I can probably point you in the direction of a few people.
No, name drop the
Name drop them.
motherfuckers.
I Okay.
Yes.
So,
And then send me the Twitter links when you're done, cause yeah,
okay. Well,
cause like when I think of color, like three people pop in my head.
go ahead and say yours first then.
Oh, why would you do this to me? Now I'm gonna start this off, Alex. I'm sorry. Barry Verney. I don't know how to say this. That's why. Why'd you let me go first? I'm dumb. Basically, it's an artist that got blocked by Alex. And I was like, damn, I feel bad for you.
It's
Don't know
crazy.
why Alex got blocked. But damn, that's crazy. I really like what they do with color because it's all intense. It's never not intense,
Heard.
and there's always so much of it. Like I don't know any of these fucking characters. You know League of Legends.
Not really. I
I'm
mean,
sorry. Good. I'm so fucking jealous. There's some KDA skins that have the neon purple, the dark blue, the light. I guess that's technically cyan, whatever the fuck. Pink, and like that whole little aesthetic.
Yeah.
They drew a picture. It was just like an offhanded picture. I'm just like, oh, this reminds me of KDA, but like better. Because it's got those neon colors, but like turned up another notch. I'm like, how the fuck did they do this? How do color? That's why I say, how do colors work? I don't understand.
Word.
Send help.
Yeah, I got you. Anyone else?
On the polar, I'm gonna out myself.
Okay.
Fuck it, why not? They call him Cake. He does flat color. All his colors are fucking flat. Well, not all. Most of his colors are flat. And he's just like, yep, pastel, warm, soft pastels. That's it. Nothing else. I'm like, oh. We're gonna ignore the subject matter and just look at the colors. And like, yeah, this is all super nice pastel stuff, and I love it a lot. It makes me feel cozy, if I could give it a feeling. But then people are like, but the subject matter. I'm like, don't look at something else. Just look at a different picture. Look at a safe for work picture. It's fine. It's fine.
Heard.
I would get into more, but I'd have to dig them up, and I don't feel like doing that. Or I could do it while you're talking about yours.
Okay. Well, first, I will probably start out with. Let me grab them. They're at, so I can say that. Crooked Glasses, which is an artist who specializes in a lot of very grunge, a lot of very like think of like spooky and Halloweeny zombie shit, right?
Okay.
They are Lythero, right?
Yeah.
Lythero's fiance / the person who does the
they aren't married yet.
I don't know if they're married yet, but I was gonna say they're the person who does most of Lythero's icons. Yeah, icons, thumbnails, things like that.
Ooh, okay. Their colors immediately pop into my head.
Yeah.
Cause that's the first thing I think of, and that makes me feel bad.
No, I mean, listen, that's the point. That's where we're at.
The colors, it's the colors, and then what they actually draw. I'm like, oh yeah. Oops.
Yeah, they do. They do a really good job of basically getting. So when I'm giving the backgrounds, the color that to the people that she usually conveys lack, they're very pale skinned, even like outside of like the dark skinned people that she draws, but like most of the time, like the zombies and the light colors of the skin are very, very dried out. They look like they're barely just hanging together, even if they go smoothly or have that shine or sheen to them. And
got you.
The rest of the colors on the person are there to accentuate and bring that life into the piece, and it's kind of great. Another person that I want to reference is I Love Tempe. I'm thinking specifically of pieces here that I just sent, where a lot of their pieces are very very, like, the color composition in them are very strong. Whether or not they're actually going out of their way to convey something special with them, it always feels like there is, just because of how strong the color combinations and the ways that the lighting works off of them is. It's kind of great. Give them a check once you've got the chance.
Listen, you should be listening to this podcast either on YouTube or Spotify. I can't vouch for any other player, so yeah, just open another tab or pull out your phone and do that, please.
Word. one last one that I want to give a shout out to is actually someone that I've had the pleasure of being in contact with a few times. They helped me finalize the design on my original character Lana, actually. Um, and they go by Brew. They're pediatric, so PDATRIC. Yeah,
I'm sorry. I'll just mute myself, or I'll move that after. It's fucking funny.
yeah.
That's actually just great.
Their use of color is amazing, and it's wild because whenever you look at any one of their pieces, you can tell immediately what's going on. But even without the line work, all of it is real solid, and all of it is the color composition in them is very strong all the time. It's kind of crazy.
Study material.
Hmm?
Study material.
Study material, yes. Uh, Definitely give them a check when you've got the chance.
Just gonna give two more people a quick shout out. Auto Giraffe on Twitter. I like what they draw, and they do color real good. Some kind of not to the extent of the first two people, but they do color real good. And then you know this person, Shay. They're technically they're not local, but they're in the same state. I like Christine's art because it's that her art style is so different than what I'm used to seeing. I'm just like, yo, line art looks like it hurts people's soul. You're like, no, it's great. I'm like, oh, sure, okay. That's contrary to everything I've heard. But all right, sure.
I actually
And they
kind of
also do
agree
color
with that.
real good. What, that line art's fun and it doesn't hurt your soul?
It doesn't hurt my soul. It's what hurts my soul is just having to push through and acknowledge I have no clue what I'm doing when I'm painting, and also still having to paint anyway.
I can't help you with that.
That's
I don't-
fair.
listen,
I'm not. I'm just admitting my faults. Go ahead and pop their or put their ad out there.
I mean, it's at Christine. They're going to be on the screen.
Oh well, I mean, again, for
Remember,
the people on Spotify.
YouTube is a thing. They're going to be in the description.
Okay.
Click the description. Come on. You're better than this. Well, I mean, listen. People don't do what I say anyway, but yeah, I got you.
Word.
For you YouTube people who will be looking at me coloring this picture by this Brazilian artist whose name I can't say, but I bought some of their clothes because I'm dumb. Yeah, that's what I've been coloring. I think I don't know. I don't have it. Moving on to topic 3. How did you get your particular style?
So that's a good question because I couldn't tell you that. I would just say it's been a bit of touch and go with whatever I've particularly enjoyed as I've lived through life up until this point.
Damn, that hurt.
Why did that hurt?
Because how have you gone through life? You know, touch and go. Wait, what? You didn't have a plan? Touch and go.
Touch and go.
Everything.
Absolutely. I mean, that's not necessarily something to blame nor to feel bad about. That's what a lot of people do, whether they feel like they're doing it or not.
I feel bad though.
Again, you don't have to, but we can talk about that another time.
Nah. You leave my demons alone. I'll fight them myself. I'll learn sun breathing like Tanjiro.
Oh Jesus! But yeah, a lot of inspirations over time have come from. It's funny because specifically, I got added for a thing on Twitter about like pick some things that inspired your art style. And I'm like, okay, well, for a fact.
Why would you do this to me?
For a fact, a lot of the games and media that I take in definitely, without a doubt, have inspired where I come from with some of my art. So, like, if you want to get back to the basics of basics, for me, it would probably be stuff like Dragon Ball or Avatar, Boondocks, stuff like that.
Those are like polar opposites.
I'm saying
You were like Dragon Ball Z is like, all right, hard, sharp edges. Yeah, Avatar, flowy. Wait, hold on, time out.
Well, that's the thing. That's the thing, though. You got to look at the shapes that are being made there. Because I would argue a lot of the way that like effect styles are done in, I want to say early Dragon Ball in Dragon Ball Z versus where some of how Avatar does some of his like extra level like lighting effects. They kind of hit similar notes, but there's also like it's bright lights. What are you gonna do? But it hits in a certain direction where you start to meld those things together in your own format. When it comes down to like the way that people are drawn and like the style that leans into as a result of that, you would probably find a lot of inspiration from like Naruto, Persona, and a bit of, I mean, I'll give Tetsuya Nomura his credit. He definitely has inspired me in more than a few ways. But
no, that's fair. He does clothes real good.
But yeah,
or no, he does his characters in clothes real good. Let me say that.
Yeah, the clothes, I definitely like some of the baggy clothes in between Dragon Ball Z and Kingdom Hearts. I definitely got messed up along the way. But
everyone did. Don't feel bad.
But yeah, I think that once I took note of how, because once I took note of how the bodies were done in that way, I started leaning more towards looking into picture references for practicing my anatomy.
Okay.
And then, because from the get-go, I'd had a decent understanding of how fabrics kind of folded and meshed and sat on the body, and like just through observation of like curtains in the house or anything, it kind of clicked easier with me than anything else. But when it comes to say things of like the way weapons are like done or formatted or stylized, I definitely have inspiration from like Fire Emblem and shit like that.
I'll beat that game one day.
I feel like the biggest thing in terms of like color inspiration for me probably would be Pokemon, which is an interesting thing to like look at and reflect on. But I feel that like even as I break away from that, I'll look back at it from time to time as a source of inspiration. Probably some of the newer stuff is probably where I sit with in terms of like the color combination and things like that. But like aesthetically at a certain level, and even like just the way characters are drawn in Pokemon, I really enjoy that. Yep.
I got so much fucking hate for liking Sun and Moon, and everyone's like, oh no, it's good. And I'm like, fuck you, go die in a hole.
For liking Sun and Moon's art, or for liking Sun and Moon?
The show was good, the art was good. Just the show is just genuinely good. People are like, no, you're wrong. Ash looks ugly, and I'm like, man, it's like there's literally 15 other characters in this show you can look at. It's like Ash isn't in every single episode. It's like, let me walk away let me stop, let me put my phone down.
Word. Yeah, it'd be like that.
So yeah, speaking of the anime, you had art classes as a child in school?
So I took one art class in high school, but it was a college class. I took it at a university.
You're not helping.
I know.
You're not helping.
I know. I had an art class as a child.
I'm trying to do a segue here.
Yeah, I don't know.
God damn it, Shay, you're fucking it up.
No, continue. I'm being funny. April Fools. Haha.
So
No, I did have an art class in middle school.
so did you draw anime bullshit in that art class? And your teacher's like, that's not real. You'll never get anywhere with that.
So, no, because it was very guided. It was like it. Unfortunately, it was like you drew what they wanted you to draw, not
Ew.
necessarily like the freedom of expression. Here's a subject or something, or here's a tech. It was more of like a lecture of like here's techniques.
Oh my god.
They
For art
yeah
in middle school? What?
yeah
Okay, you know what? You went to a different school.
yeah. I only had an art class for like a year and a half.
What?
Yeah,
I'm sorry. Actually, well, no, I'm
that's
not.
that's how self-taught.
I always. That's how self-taught you are. No, that's fair. I from sixth grade until like 10th grade. All right, here's your art class, but I can't draw. Oh no, it's fine. No. I can't. I can barely write the English language. Which what makes you think I can do shapes? No, it'd be taking me out of this goddamn class. What would you rather take? Anything. You want to do music? Yeah, sure. and here we are today, trying to look into how much saxophones cost because stimulus money.
Our music class was terrible. We had one dude who taught it, and like he left and came back and left and came back, and then they made it only so that like kids got the music class, and then he taught everyone again. And I only learned that after I left, and my little sister kept going through school. Yeah, it was.
I'm sorry. I apologize.
No, it's fine. He was tired of kids.
Let me die, please.
Like at a baseline level, he did not want to have to deal
Oh.
with children. Yet he was here
I mean,
dealing with children.
personally, I also do not like children, but you know, that's just me. I'm old at heart.
That's fair.
I'm not upset, but like I'm more surprised you didn't get the whole nah, you can't draw anime here. What the fuck's wrong with you? Because a lot of my friends got that in our school, and I'm like, ayo, I'll fight the teacher for you. I don't care.
So here's the thing.
You're like, you don't want to be here, do you? Like, no, I don't. I will beat this teacher's ass for you.
I feel like the biggest reason I didn't get that, like outside of school, was mostly because drawing is kind of in the family, right?
Really, I didn't know that.
At least on my mom's side. My mom can doodle a little bit. My uncle used to draw like a lot of comic stuff when he was younger, so like he still has some of that ingrained in him, but more of like the like Marvel comics, like bulky men sort of situation. My I guess my great cousin, but like my I call her Titi. My Titi, she used to draw, and her daughters draw, and they're my cousins who probably okay. They're the cousins who got me into Kingdom Hearts, so you know they draw some animation.
Oh, so they hate you. They actually despise you.
No, so
You are a social experiment.
I'm gonna baseline this real quick. I had gotten Kingdom Hearts as a child. I tried it, got to the end of Destiny Islands, and got scared when the Heartless showed up, and my wooden sword wasn't working. And me being coward baby child, I did not touch that game for years. Years later, I see my cousin beating the end of 2. And I'm like, that's crazy.
What the fuck is
What is this? Yeah, okay. So that's how I ended up there. So
also, we don't hate Kingdom Hearts. That was a joke. Kingdom Hearts people, the fan base is real. Okay, no,
I'm a Kingdom Hearts
think
person.
They understand.
I know
Kingdom
you're
Hearts
joking.
are just dumb.
I
Listen, people don't know. Kingdom Hearts is great. Story is not that hard. Just play the games in
Yes.
chronological order.
Yes.
So you got. That's all you gotta do.
Yeah.
But then you got shit like fucking Fate, and I'm just like, where do I start? Everyone's like, it doesn't matter. I'm like, oh, well, shit, okay. Or you've got shit like Monogatari. I'm like, where do I even begin to get an idea of where to start?
Yeah.
I'm just like, don't worry about that.
I
I own all the books from Monogatari. I just don't. I'm like, where do I start? Like, just read the first book. I'm like, okay, sure, all right, whatever.
That's kind of what I did with the Fate. I watched Fate Stay Night, like the 2000, what is it, 4 or 5 version.
Yeah,
and then
no, you did it wrong. You were supposed to watch not Unlimited Blade Works Zero. Yeah, you were supposed to watch Zero.
Well, here's the
and
thing,
then there
right?
are people who are like, no,
No.
it's the other way. I'm just like, please shut the fuck up.
I
all
saw
of you.
I saw the only reason Zero hit for me in the way that it did is because I saw Stay Night first. When I saw Stay Night, it immediately lowered my expectations. So when I got to when I got to
I understand
Fate
that.
Zero, I was like, oh, they're talking about stuff. They're explaining stuff. I feel like if I didn't have the introduction to the world via Fate Stay Night, watching Fate Zero would have been very hard. But because I have that baseline of it's not very hard, but it would have been a lot more difficult for me and my monkey brain, who's like,
no, you were one of the smartest people I know. You can't use that joke. No, just watch Unlimited Blade Works and go, yo, this looks amazing. Who does this? And then start following UFO table, however the fuck you pronounce it. Watch their animes, like Demon Slayer. Because Demon Slayer looks so good.
I haven't, and because it's ended, I've seen like the first, 5 episodes of Demon Slayer, and then I stopped.
Oh, nothing's happened. Okay. No, that's fair.
But no, the anime art style, yeah, my cousins, I'm gonna silently put their stuff out there, right? So there's
Sure. Go for it.
one of my cousins, I don't know if the other one like still draws or has like an art account, so I'm just gonna put the one that I know for a fact has the art account.
You just call them on this show and be like, hey, you still draw stuff?
Right, I was gonna be like, hey yo, ask my cousin if they still draw. But the one who may or may not have art is Crossodile, so Crossodile. The one that definitely has an art account is Dirge Art, so DIRGE_ART, both on Twitter.
Those will be on the screen.
But yeah, like that foundation of like art being everywhere that I kind of looked, it was more like they didn't follow it, but they all had the potential for it.
Got you.
The only one that really follows it is Dirge Art.
Fuck, where do we go from here? Name some artists you like.
Some artists that I like. So let's start this off with CT Chrysler. Specifically CTCHRYSLER_. They
the car? The car?
I don't know if that's how you spell Chrysler. The car. But I'm pretty sure that's how you pronounce the name. So CT Chrysler is the one who's in charge of the one who, I don't know if they still follow through with this project, but how I found them was through the anime project. So
I've heard of that.
I just linked you. It's the person who draws their OCs, and their main character is the girl with the pink hair and the yellow something outfit. Most of the time, it changes from time to time, but CT Chrysler definitely takes a lot of inspiration from like the same things that I had watched growing up, and sort of leans harder into I don't want to say leans hard into what Avatar kind of had going on. So I forget what studio that is, but
I believe it was a Korean studio.
Right. But
Cause let me stop. Let me stop before I say something.
before you before you just start lying, no.
No, not lying. Just uh. Let me just stop so I don't have to do extra work later.
Word. Okay. Um but yeah, a lot of their style is inspired by like contemporary stuff, but it still bleeds and breathes that beginning mesh of cartoon with anime that just sort of now leans into CD Chrysler's own spot, like specific style, specific take, where it's more like closer to anatomically correctness, but it still has like that love put in it. Um, then there's another one that I wanted to point out was so there's two people who sort of scratch the same itch for me, right? And one
Mm-hmm.
of them is Miku Sushi, and the other one is Nisego, specifically Nisego 2 on Twitter. Um, so Miku Sushi definitely has a lot more. Their shapes are really strong when they're making when they're drawing characters. Uh, some of it is a little more like the edges are kind of harder than what you might see with Nisego, but it all really works well to have that, like it works really well in terms of the not the synchronicity, the repetition of the kind of lines that are being put in adds to the style instead of making it jarring. It's really good, and I definitely enjoy the way that they do their faces, their motion. There's a lot of strength in their composition as well, and I really like it. Whereas with
Wait, what does that? Wait, what does that mean?
what do you mean?
There's strength in their composition. What does that mean?
Um, so they in the way that they do their art and the way it's composed, uh, it definitely lends itself to uh, how do I want to word this? It Let me pull up a piece very quickly before I start talking out of my ass.
No, just talk out of your ass. It's a
It's,
podcast. That's what we're here
I
for.
mean I could, but uh
Fuck this factually correct bullshit. Oh, I know that person.
yes.
They drew Ness. Yeah, I know that Nessa.
Yes. So their composition is the way that composition works with art is that there are certain in visual design there are not even just visual design but in general in visual design there is different a way of putting your hierarchy together that works really well with the different aspects of the basics of design just to keep it short and not have to go into specifics, and they have a very good mastery of that as from
Okay.
pieces here that I've sent that future cam may or may not put up on the screen.
He's not wrong. If your future cam is extremely lazy.
And then uh
Although tomorrow is my day off, so I might. We'll see.
but before I go, I do want to say the action and the way that Nisego does their comics are really really good. I really love the expressions that Nisego does, and uh, you can't go wrong with big titty anime waifus, I guess. So there's plenty of that way.
I was gonna say how should I just segue into me? I'm like I'm not gonna do that to myself.
I mean, if you have
I've outed myself enough.
um, yeah, one last person to point out. Are you good?
Yeah, but
Okay. One last person is Pokichi, Pockicchi on Twitter. Uh, they are a comic artist for Avatar: The Last Airbender Chibi series. But their art is definitely in leans harder into the to the style of Avatar than even C.T. Chrysler.
Oh, well, I mean, if there's a comic book artist,
Right,
then
but yeah,
that's kind of not fair, but all right.
I mean it's more of like, yeah, it's not fair, but
Damn, all right then.
yeah, I didn't have much else to say other than check them out.
That's fair. Tell me how aesthetics work.
Uh, do you have a preference?
What does that mean?
Yes or no? Do you have a preference?
I sure.
Sure. That's how aesthetics work. Like,
I hate you. You know, I have your address. I can come to your house.
you can.
You're not at home right now, damn it.
Nope. I was gonna say you can, but I'm not there. No.
I don't remember where you are. I don't remember how to get there.
No, you're fine. Don't worry about it. That said, aesthetics are just as arbitrary of a factor depending on whether or not you have to be intentional about them, right? So if there's a certain aesthetic that you need to lean into, then doing research on the things that have inspired whatever it is that you are either making or being derivative of, then that's where that line is basically. So like if someone, and the biggest thing about it that's hard to answer is that like aesthetics change over time, like even for the like even within people, so people can still like aspects of an aesthetic, take that with them into whatever they do in the future, but lose most of what makes that particular aesthetic unique. And it's kind of hard when you give me a broad question like that to put it as neatly as maybe would be satisfying, but it's more of like, what you got to give me something to work with. Like, what is a specific aesthetic you would like me to analyze?
I didn't think you'd get this far. I thought you would just give me some bullshit answer, and you didn't. And I forgot who I was talking to.
Heard.
God damn it, Shay. Now I have to go in my fucking phone and look for something. So, vamp.
If I can give an example, think of how. All right, so magic systems within different series, right? They usually have different general aesthetics depending on what you're looking at. So, like for Avatar, the magical aesthetic for that is definitely more nature based, more like, think of like rune esque, like very old school papyrus looking aesthetic. Whereas if you look at
Papyrus the font, not the character from Undertale.
Correct.
I feel like that needs to be
okay,
said.
well yes, papyrus the font, but also like papyrus the paper. Is just like very 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 very. It's like a legend, if anything. Legend of, yeah. Okay. Well, the whereas if you look at something like even within stuff like Final Fantasy, the aesthetic of the magic will change in between games, how it works, what it does. Like for Final Fantasy 15, the aesthetic of the magic is kind of like separated. Like it doesn't feel like there's much of a magic aesthetic outside of the holographic-esque like use of weapons and blades and how they sort of come out and form.
Oh, I have an idea now. All right, your vamping has been vamped. A Persona 5 aesthetic. That's right. Thank you. Shitpost.
Okay. What about it?
Describe it.
Describe it?
What? How does it work?
So
Because you have a lot of red, whites, and
yes.
blacks.
So
which sounds really bad out of context.
Heard. So for Persona 5, the aesthetic is very strong, very in your face, very uh it's also very there's a lot of repetition in it. So like if you see like the stars or the shapes or the circles in it, they're used a lot and layered over each other a lot. There's a lot of a mood board esque like clip cutting out clips of letters and words to make new ones. So like the way that the pause menu has like the old calling
Ransom
card,
letter.
yeah, ransom letter calling card aesthetic to it. uh it's all very strong, yet it has the identity that draws itself to the it's very derivative of a lot of things all at once, while the sharp contrast of the whites on the blacks with the reds that accent it make it very very, what's the word, because it's not cold, it's very, it's like relentless, it's in your face, it won't stop, like it won't stop.
Abrasive.
Yes, abrasive. And despite how, in a lot of that is attributed to the main character, whereas in his
I
everyday,
disagree.
you disagree.
Yes,
Tell me.
Ryuji is more abrasive than fucking Ren.
Okay.
Silent protagonist, we ain't gonna get into that. That's a whole planned episode for like November.
So where I'm getting at mostly is that the abrasiveness is put into a style, and that style is attributed to the main character. It's all well contained, just like the way that he's reserved out in public.
Okay.
And then it lets it loose in the metaverse. So all of that is represented.
You did a very good job of saying that, because I would have been like, hey, yo, wait, time out. Ren is not...
It also...
I want to say the whole theme of rebellion and whatnot, but that's... I don't see red as a color, a rebellious color. And then I look at the 70s and like, never mind, I'll shut up. Continue.
No, I was just gonna say, when I see the visuals of that, I think of and like it doesn't help that the music also builds this sort of this
acid jazz.
I wasn't even gonna just say acid. I was gonna say Nubia, but yes, acid jazz. The jazz aesthetic on it is just as strong, just as a result of the, like, well, of course, the music and association and visuals. Memories are not in a vacuum. You're gonna remember one thing and start remembering something else about it. But a lot of the posters and a lot of the posters that you'll see have a very somewhat similar aesthetic, depending on like its derivative of it. So you'll find like the sharp contrast-esque aspects of the like stylized pictures of people on top of the way that the lines tend to repeat or sort of blend into each other in a lot of very jazz images in posters, imagery in posters.
Play Persona 5.
Yeah, play Persona 5.
It's real fun. Well, I don't know. I can't.
Play Royal.
It's fun.
It is fun.
Yeah, don't play the best game. Just play Royal. I'm gonna be honest. That might be it, because we just had to cut that whole last bit because it's so off topic and has nothing to do with anything. So with all that in mind, I don't remember what the outro of my show is. It's been real. It's been fun. Has it been real fun? Let us know down in the comments and whatever the fuck I'm supposed to say. I think Apple has a comment system, but Spotify doesn't, which doesn't make any sense to me. I don't know. You're asking the wrong person. YouTube people, if you stuck around this long, tell Shay you love him and go follow him on his Twitters. All 4 of them.
I got 3.
Bullshit. But all right.
I only got 3, I promise.
Bullshit. We know you have a 4th. You joke. I mean,
I joked about it. It's gone.
Oh, okay. So it is three. All right, it is three now. Um, your homework for next time
Hmm.
is fuck.
It's fine.
How do I how do I want to phrase this? So your homework for next time is to do research into. It originally was going to be idols, but people don't seem to like. People like idols, just not the people I want to talk to. So we're going to talk about Hollow Live because they've been taking over the internet, and I was just like, what the fuck
I
is
guess
any of
they do
this?
count as idols.
Uh, it's
They're about as idle as it gets.
no, no.
I mean, for the
Yes,
online
but
format.
no.
For the online format.
Yes, but no.
Oh, it can get harder. Heard.
Um, when it comes down to it, they're just uh girls streaming hiding their real faces for whatever reasons that I don't fucking know.
Uh,
Um,
because there are people who we can get into this then.
I mean, if you want to be on the next episode, you're more than welcome to, but you're gonna have to do a bunch of research into the Hollow Live English girls. But
It's fine. I'll just watch a few. What's his name? YouTube. He's a YouTuber.
there's so
Koto.
many people that make clips, dude.
Yeah, I'll just have to watch that one, dude.
There's so many people. Also, I'm gonna say I've branched out to the Indonesian girls because they can speak English. Thank God. My favorite's the zombie because she's wholesome, but a goddamn degenerate. I'm just like, you're me, but a zombie. And a
Coefficient.
female.
Yeah, that's his name.
Yeah.
Coefficient with a K.
So your homework is Hololive. I guess Shay will be joining us, and I have to beg my friend to talk with me again because she was like, I don't want to do it because you're going to talk about Miku and Kizuna Eye and how those two things led into Hololive being the thing in the first place. And I was just like, okay, sure, whatever you say.
Word.
So with all that being said, bye.
Deuces. Have a good one, y'all.